Software testing in the recent days has reached the peaks of popularity, and the growth of automation testing using Selenium has added more wings to this transformation, and Selenium is the best suitable tool for testing a website. Hey everyone, this is Neha from Edureka, and in this video I will give you insights about Selenium architecture. Let's have a look at the agenda for the session. First, I will tell you what is Selenium. Next, I will introduce you with Selenium suite of tools, that is Selenium WebDriver, Selenium RC, IDE, Selenium Grid, etc. And after that, I will explain you the various components and working of Selenium architecture. And finally, you will see a demo wherein you will understand how to run Selenium server, how to create browser instance, and then perform test cases on that. I hope you found the agenda interesting. Without wasting any further time, let's get straight into the module. First, let's understand what is Selenium. Selenium is an open source portable framework that is used to automate the testing of web applications. It is highly flexible when it comes to testing functional and regression test cases. And test scripts in Selenium can be written in different programming languages like Java, Python, C#, and many more. And these test scripts can run across various browsers like Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Opera, and also it provides support across various platforms like Windows, macOS, Linux, and many more. Apart from all these features, Selenium also supports cross-browsing where the test cases run across various platforms simultaneously. And it also helps in creating robust, browser-based regression automation suites and perform tests on that. So basically, it's an open source tool which supports cross-browser testing and automates web applications. And also there is one more important point, that is it can be integrated with tools like TestNG and JUnit for managing the test cases and generating the reports. So these are some of the unique features of Selenium. Now that you know what is Selenium, let's move further and learn various tools in Selenium suite. Selenium is a suite of tools and they are Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. Now let's understand the functionalities of each of these tools in depth. First, talking about Selenium IDE, that is Selenium Integrated Development Environment. And this is mainly a Firefox plugin. It is the simplest framework in the Selenium suite. It allows us to record and play back the scripts. Even though we can create scripts using Selenium IDE, we need to use Selenium RC or Selenium WebDriver to write more advanced and robust test cases. Why? Because it's just a Firefox plugin, and that is the reason it should be integrated with RC or WebDriver. Okay? So this is what Selenium IDE is. Let's see what is Selenium RC. Selenium RC, that is Selenium 1, was the main Selenium project for a long time before the WebDriver merge brought up the Selenium 2. And Selenium 1 is still actively supported in maintenance mode. It relies on JavaScript for automation and it supports Java, JavaScript, Ruby, PHP, Python, Perl, and C#. It supports almost every browser out there. But it is officially deprecated. And that's where Selenium WebDriver came into the picture, and it is a browser automation framework that accepts the commands and sends them to the browser. And this Selenium WebDriver is implemented through a browser-specific driver. It controls the browser by directly communicating with that. And it also supports Java, C#, PHP, Perl, Python, Ruby, etc. And this Selenium WebDriver supports operating systems like Windows, Linux, Solaris, and macOS, and it supports browsers like Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Safari, Opera, and also mobile operating systems like Android, iOS, etc. As you all know that Selenium RC was merged with Selenium WebDriver, and that was Selenium 2. Now, Selenium WebDriver has also come up with a new version of Selenium, that is improved version, that is Selenium 3. So in the recent days, all of us are using Selenium 3 and above in the market. Now talking about the last component, Selenium Grid. This is a tool used together with Selenium RC to run tests on different machines against different browsers in parallel. That is, running multiple tests at the same time against different machines running under different browsers and different operating systems. That is nothing but it supports multiple browsers, it supports multiple machines, it supports multiple OS platforms as well. Selenium WebDriver is a well-designed object-oriented API that supports many languages and many operating systems as well. So this is all about the various tools that is available in the Selenium suite. Having understood this, let's move further and know Selenium architecture in depth. Before I jump into the architecture, let me tell you what is an API. API, termed as Application Programming Interface, works as an interface between various software components, and Selenium also provides one such API, that is WebDriver API. Let's understand what is WebDriver API. So Selenium WebDriver API helps in communication between languages and browsers. And as I have already told that Selenium supports many programming languages and also multiple browsers. So every browser has a different logic of performing actions like loading a page, closing a browser, performing actions, etc. So now talking about the architecture, this is a Selenium architecture which comprises of 4 main components, that is Selenium Client Library, JSON via Protocol over HTTP, browser drivers and browsers, that is the real browsers. So first talking about Selenium Client Libraries, are also termed as Selenium Language Bindings. So Selenium supports multiple libraries like Java, Ruby, Python and many more. And Selenium developers have developed the language bindings to allow Selenium to support multiple languages. So that is the reason this is nothing but a client library. So in the client library, it also comes up with APIs, that is Java comes with a jar file, and for all these programming languages, they have their own set of APIs and jar files. Next, talking about the JSON via protocol over HTTP client. I'll explain you the linking of all these 4 components in a later part. Now let me tell you what is JSON via protocol over HTTP client. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It is used to transfer the data between a server and a client on the web. JSON via protocol is a REST API that transfers the information between HTTP server. Each browser driver, like you have Firefox, like Chrome driver, has its own HTTP server on which it communicates with the client. Now talking about the browser driver. Each browser contains separate browser driver. That is, you can see for Firefox browser there is Firefox driver, for Chrome browser there is Chrome driver, for Edge browser there is Edge driver, and like that. And browser driver communicate with respective browser without revealing the internal logic of browser's functionality. This is the main point because it does not reveal the internal functionality at all. When a browser driver receives any command, then that command will be executed on the respective browser and the response will go back in the form of HTTP response. But the internal logic behind that will never be revealed to anyone. And the last component is browsers. That is a real browser. Like you have many kind of browsers, and that's what I'm talking about. So Selenium supports multiple browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, Edge, Internet Explorer, and many more. Now let's see how Selenium WebDriver works internally. The main working usually occurs between browsers and browser drivers. As you all know, Selenium provides libraries, that is, it has its own set of libraries, and that comes with APIs. So you can say Java has its own jar files. For all these programming languages, they have their own jar, own set of APIs and jar files. So say you write a command for Selenium, or when you create a browser instance like WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver or new Firefox driver, and what you will do using driver.get command, you will pass the URL. That is, say you want to navigate to google.com or you want to navigate to Yahoo Mail, anything. So what happens internally? So what did you do here? You did 2 steps. First, you created an instance of a browser, and then you're passing the URL of the website that you want to navigate through with the help of driver.get command. So this is what you are doing by writing a code. But what actually happens internally? So Selenium internally is creating a JSON payload for one post call. That is, whenever you create an instance or whenever you do any actions, every time Selenium creates a JavaScript object notation protocol. So this JSON collects all the capabilities, all the information about the browser and browser drivers, like it will know on what browser you are executing, which browser driver, which version of the browser, on which machine, what information, everything will be there in the JSON via protocol. So Selenium client library will send the request to JSON via protocol over HTTP. So JSON via protocol is a server. So when you create an instance and launch a website, internally the entire process will take over the HTTP call based on the language. That is, based on the client language, maybe Java, Ruby, Python, anything. It will communicate with the language, and then from these languages a request is sent to JSON via protocol, and from there it goes to the browser drivers. Browser driver will instantiate the browsers, and the response will be sent back as HTTP response back to the browser drivers. So basically, for whatever actions you perform on the web element, Selenium communicates with the client library, creates JSON payload, and creates an instance. Internally, it does not matter what language we are using because it is just a client library. But what matters is, over the HTTP protocol, we are sending the request to the drivers in the form of a JSON. And then this request will be performed on real browsers and then sent to the browser drivers. So this is how it works internally. Over the protocol or over the grid, if you want to execute your program, you need a Selenium server. Okay. Now let's see a demo wherein you will understand how to create an instance or how to create a session, and also you will get to know what is JSON via protocol and what are the information and what are the capabilities that you will understand and that will be present in the JSON via protocol, etc. Now let's see a small demo to understand how internal working of Selenium architecture happens. Okay. So you need a Selenium standalone server to execute the program if you want to run remote Selenium WebDriver, and also over the protocol or over the grid, if you want to execute your program, you need a Selenium standalone server. So here you can see there's a download version for 3.141 of Selenium standalone server. Just click on the download and it will start downloading. As I have already downloaded the file, I have saved it in this. Next, one more important point is, as I have already told you, there is Selenium client and WebDriver language bindings. So this is all about the language bindings where it supports Java, C#, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, etc. And also there is third-party drivers, bindings, and plugins. So I told you about the browser drivers. For Mozilla Firefox, there's a 𝐤𝐸𝐴 driver. For Google Chrome, there's a Chrome driver. For Opera, for Internet Explorer, for Microsoft Edge, and many more. So from here, you can download your browser drivers. I have already downloaded even that as well. You can see I have a standalone server and I have a 𝐤𝐸𝐴 driver as well. Okay. So now what I will do, I'll open my terminal in the downloads page. Why? Because I have saved my 𝐤𝐸𝐴 driver and my Selenium standalone server, which is a jar file over there. I want to list what all are there. So I will open my terminal here, and the very first thing that I want to do is I want to run my Selenium server. That is the Selenium standalone server, and I want to execute and create a session. Let's see how to do that. So what I'll do, I'll just list the commands. So you can see there's a 𝐤𝐸𝐴 driver and there's Selenium. So I want to execute my Selenium standalone server. So I will give the command like this: java-jar Selenium server standalone. So I will execute my jar file by using this command. So you can see it is launching a standalone server on port number 4444. You can see it is initializing the WebDriver servlet, and you can see the Selenium server is up and running on port 4444. Okay. So now I want to cross check whether the Selenium standalone server is up and running or not. So what I will do, I'll go back to my Mozilla Firefox. I'll open localhost 4444. Yes. So because that's where in my terminal it said the Selenium standalone server is working on this port number. So I will click alone the console. In this console is nothing but the WebDriver hub. So when you get this page or the previous page, that is a Selenium standalone console, repeat, that is Selenium standalone home page, it means your Selenium standalone server is up and running in a proper way. Now I want to create a session and say I want to create a session for Firefox because I have my Firefox web browser directly installed on my CentOS VirtualBox. So I'll give OK. As you all know, I have saved my Selenium standalone server and 𝐑𝐸𝐴 in one folder. That is the reason now it will create a session and create a browser instance also. Basically, what should happen? It should launch Mozilla Firefox browser and it should create a session and it should give the capabilities, everything. Now let's see. You can see that it launched Mozilla Firefox browser, which means it created a browser instance because I have a 𝐑𝐸𝐴 saved in the directory where I have saved my standalone server. Very simple, right? Just create an instance. Nothing much I'm going to do here. Just save the driver and the server in the same folder and it is done. Very simple. So now you can see here it is running a Mozilla Firefox driver instance. Yes. It's telling it's launching 𝐑𝐸𝐴. You can see that here. Firefox 𝐑𝐸𝐴 service. And you can see in the WebDriver hub, it created a session and this is the session ID for that. So you can load the script, you can delete the session, you can take the screenshot. And these are the capabilities. That is the JavaScript object notation capabilities. So as I have told you, it contains some capabilities, some information like it contains browser name, that is Firefox, browser version, that is 60.6.1, accessibility checks is false, 𝐑𝐸𝐴 version 0.24, Mozilla about the process ID. This is the process ID for that profile. The platform name is Linux. Platform version is this. WebDriver remote session ID is the one which you got it from here. The timeouts, the page load, the script, the implicit timeouts, everything. And the page load strategy is normal and the WebDriver click is true. Now there are some commands for JSON. So you just have to Google JSON via protocol Selenium and click on the first link and you will get all the basic terms and concepts about the web element, about the capabilities, about the cookies, about entry, about log levels, proxy JSON, and these are the commands. You have exceptions also, error handling, invalid request, and this is the command request. So there is like get post methods. To know the status, you can query the current status. You can create a new session by using this path. You can return a list of the currently available sessions. You can retrieve the session ID. You can delete the session. You can set the timeouts for the session IDs. You can get the session ID, that is retrieve the URL of the current page. You can navigate to new URL. And these are nothing but the get post methods. And you can use the postman for executing all these commands as well. You can take a screenshot. Basically, all the actions that you perform on WebDriver can be done by using the JSON wireless protocol. Okay. So now here you can come. Here you can take the screenshot. You can delete the session. You can load the script. Now suppose say I will try to create a Chrome driver instance. What will happen? I don't have my Chrome driver set in the file. I neither have my Chrome browser. So obviously it will say unable to create a new session. If you have your Chrome browser and your compatible matching Chrome driver, then obviously it will create a session like it did with Mozilla Firefox. Make sure that your browser and the browser driver is compatible with each other. Like if you have a older browser version, then please try to download the older driver itself, or else just update your browser and then you can use the latest driver. Okay, very simple. So I hope you understood how to create a session, how to launch a server, and how to check the capabilities of the JSON payload. So this is nothing but the JSON script, and this is how you need to do that. And you can also check over here. Okay. But if you close the terminal, then the instance will be closed. Now let's see how to create a script and how to launch a driver instance, how to assign all the page timeouts, how to navigate through a URL, perform actions, send keys, click, and many more. So this is a program where I have first created a Java class file, and inside the main method, I am using system.setProperty to set the properties of the 𝐑𝐸𝐴 driver, that is a Firefox driver. Okay, so once when I set the system properties and create an object of the Firefox driver, it should basically launch the Firefox driver with these two commands. But then what I'm doing, I'm maximizing the windows, I'm deleting all the cookies, I'm giving the timeouts for implicitly wait and page timeout. And then using driver.get, I'm navigating to twitter.com. I've told you before, right? If you navigate, so what it will do, it will first launch Firefox driver and navigate to twitter.com. And then using link text, I'm clicking on the sign up link and I'm finding the element using XPath locator. If you want to know about the locators and weights and about the basics of Selenium WebDriver, everything, you can check out the videos in our YouTube playlist and you can get hands-on on that as well. So I'm using XPath and I'm locating the element and sending the key. Again, I'm also trying to find the phone number with the help of a name locator and I'm sending the keys. Assigning thread.sleep for 1 millisecond because I just want to know what actually actions are performing on the web element or not. And then I'm clicking on the next button. So this is what I am doing in my code. So once you execute this program, what will happen internally after you click on the run till it launches the Firefox browser? So once you click on the run, that is this button, every statement in your script will be converted as an URL with the help of JSON via protocol over HTTP. The URLs will be passed to the browser drivers. In the above code, what I took Firefox driver. Here, in our case, the client library Java will convert the statements to the script of JSON format and communicates with the Firefox. And every browser driver uses HTTP server to receive HTTP requests. Once a URL reaches the browser driver, then the browser driver will pass that request to the real browser over HTTP. Then the commands in your Selenium script will be executed on the browser. If the request is POST request, then there will be an action on the browser. If the request is a GET request, then the corresponding response will be generated at the browser end and it will be sent over HTTP to the browser driver. And the browser driver over JSON via protocol and sends it to the UI, that is Eclipse. So this is all what is happening at the backend. Now let's run and check for the output. So what should happen? It should launch Firefox, navigate to twitter.com and perform the actions on the web elements. Let's see what happens. You can see that Mozilla Firefox driver instantiated, it launched, 𝐤𝐝 driver launched, Firefox, navigated to Twitter, hit on the sign up, entered name and phone number, hit on the next button. Yes, so this is what you can see in the front end, but in the back end, in actual JSON protocol page is created and the requests are being sent to the client, and depending on the get and post, the response is sent back. So that's how the internal working of Selenium architecture happens. Say if you want to create an instance of the Chrome driver, you have to just download the Chrome driver, specify the path, create an object of new Chrome driver, and that's all. Very simple. Again, if you want to do it on Edge, you can know about it. If you wish to know about how you can create an instance of all the drivers and perform cross-browser testing, you can check out the cross-browser testing using Selenium in our YouTube playlist and you can actually know how it works. So this is all about the Selenium architecture. I hope you understood that. So that was all about this session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and have a nice day.